This is your birth story. You should know that ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to be a mommy, and you made that dream come true for me. So, yay. One day I came home for lunch, and the cat from across the street came over and sat on my lap. And I was petting that cat in the sunshine, and he was purring and just really making himself feel comfortable. And at that very moment, I thought, oh, I need to have a baby right now. So you can thank that cat for the timing of it all, but you were always destined to be. It did take us a couple of months. We had taken some tests, but when I was pregnant with you, the moment I was pregnant with you, I knew you were there. The story of your birth is you did come early. Your dad had two jobs. He was working at FedEx. He had just started this. And so he would come home, go to sleep, and then go back to work. We had just recently sold our waterbed. I just felt like, no, we needed to upgrade if a baby was coming. We ordered it through your grandma because she was working at a furniture store and she picked it out for us, got us a really good discount. It was on the way, but it was not there yet. So for the last week, for the week before you were born, we were sleeping on the floor on blankets and pillows. So your dad was in the room and he was sleeping, and I was talking to grandma, and I was nervous. I was really nervous about this whole pain thing because I was scheduled for an epidural. People said, you need this epidural, and I was fine with the epidural. I was like, I'm not crazy, right? I know I had worked and was in shape, but childbirth, it looks scary on TV. They make it look like you're dying. And so, yeah, give me some help. I noticed that I was getting tired. I said goodbye to mom and I went to lay down with your dad. And all of a sudden, I'm asleep, but waking up like, ooh. And I thought, I feel like I have to pee. I almost peed my pants on the floor. So I ran into the bathroom and I peed, but it wasn't really pee. And I looked in the toilet and it was blood, and kind of a lot of blood. And I thought, this can't be right. But I'm reading these books and it did say your mucus plug might pop. So I thought, oh, maybe it's that, because it said it would look a little bit like blood. I wasn't cramping or anything and I felt okay. So I went and laid back down and just thought, I'm not having any symptoms. So I think everything is okay. And maybe that was just the mucus plug. Maybe I'm going to have a baby tomorrow. And so I laid back down and I'm pretty sure I went to sleep. But again, woo, I had that feeling again and had to go to the restroom. And this was a lot more. This was the same thing. Like a lot of fluid would come out, but it was actually blood. At this point, I got a little worried. Your dad was getting ready to get up to go to work. His alarm was about to go off, and I just woke him up. And I said, I think something might be wrong. I think we need to go to the hospital. He was in shock, and I'm kind of in shock, but trying not to be worried about it because it's not making sense to me. But I do feel like that tiny little voice in the back of my head is saying, you need to go. You need to ask some questions. Something. This wasn't in the books. This was not in the books. And so your dad kind of ran around, called in and said he wasn't going to be into work. And, we did that little woo dance and got in the truck and got to the hospital. And of course, when I got there, they're saying, how are you feeling? You have any cramps? And I'm like, I've been having Braxton Hicks contractions, no pain, but I'm bleeding a little bit. And they said, okay, we're going to get you in and we're going to, check you out. And so they get me into the room and they get me hooked up, and a couple people come in and they say, are you okay? What? And I said, well, I'm concerned. I'm bleeding a little bit. But they were kind of like, I think they were looking at me and taking my cues. I'm not screaming. I'm not like, I'm too calm, right? And so, lesson learned, if you really want people to pay attention to you during that time, be a little crazy. Your mommy was not a little crazy. And so I'm all kind of hooked up and they leave. And that feeling comes again where I need to go to the restroom. And I'm like, how am I going to get out of bed? They had put socks on my feet because your feet can get cold. I'm in a dressing gown. I'm hooked up to a couple of things and I have to get out of bed. So I get out of that crazy high bed and I roll myself to the bathroom. And again, I bleed, but I can't really, get myself cleaned up. And some of the blood gets on my sock. And I walk back and get myself back into bed. And they finally come in. And the nurse notices that there's blood on my sock. And she said, "Where'd this come from?" And I said, "Well, I've been telling everyone I'm bleeding." And, she's like, "What?" And she's finally listening to me. They're finally listening to me. And they get me all hooked up. They put a monitor inside me to monitor you and your blood oxygen levels. And this was not the water that had broken. Apparently, had my water broken, this would have caused both you and we might not have made it. Fortunately, my water did not break. This was just the placenta. It had torn. And every time I was having a contraction, it was pushing placenta out of me, which is a bloody type of fluid. Once they figured this out, they just really got everything hooked up. But apparently, you were losing oxygen levels. So they put me on oxygen, which I couldn't breathe with that thing on my mouth, and I kept trying to push it off. And finally, they came in and I said, "I'm ready for my epidural." And they said, "Oh, sweetie, it's time to give birth. You're 10 centimeters, no epidural for you." So basically, woohoo, the fun began. It didn't take us too many pushes and you came out. We did not know that you were going to be a boy for sure, but in my heart, I felt for sure you were. We picked out your name early on, and names are just names. I'm glad you found one that you love. I love it too. So you were born very healthy. They called out your numbers, how long you were, how much you weighed, all your scores. Your dad was over there, so proud. All I wanted to do was hold you. They brought you to me and I held you. Again, where's the tissue? It was a pretty big moment because, like I said, I always did want to be a mommy, and you gave me that gift. Now, how were you as a baby? Now, that is a funny story. You really wanted somebody to be in the room with you. I would put you on the floor, put you in the playpen. I would turn on some lovely lullaby music. As long as that music was playing, you would move around. You were very active. You were always just moving, working those muscles, trying to crawl. From the very beginning, you were a mover. You loved moving your body. And I can relate to that. To me, that was normal. It's not so normal as far as babies go, but you had that special talent. And you wanted to be moving. If that music was not on, you would be moving and fussing. You wouldn't be crying, you would just be fussing. And also, if no one was in the room, that's when you would be crying. So therefore, the living room became the place that I lived in. If I was doing laundry, I was doing it near you in the living room. You liked company. Guess what? I like company too. I don't really enjoy being alone. And so it was good. We made a good pair. You were there for me. From the moment you were born, I really didn't have to be alone a lot for the next 15 years. You liked company. And I liked that about you because I like company too. I will say that you didn't smile much. You didn't. Those smiles that you did smile were precious. Now, once you found your smile, you rarely stopped smiling, and I love that about you. But as a baby, it took you a little while to find your smile. You were just serious. You were really figuring out the world. It was interesting. It's a neat thing about you. Just like, okay, I'm here. Now that I know how sensitive you are to the energy around you, it makes more sense. It definitely makes more sense. We're figuring out everything. As a baby, I remember people adored you. You were very handsome, similar to the responses that Earhart gets. Oh my gosh, what a beautiful child. Yeah, I got that a lot. And look at those eyebrows. I got that a lot. You were crawling at 5 months, right on schedule. You were walking in between 8 and 9 months, and you just never stopped. You worried about other people. You were very conscious of safety and wanting people to be safe in your life and happy. Very caring and empathetic child. And you still are. What I do have to note that is quite special about you is your ability to see angels, your ability to pick up energy around you, and your path. If there is anyone who knows how to become who he wants to become, I believe it would be you. You have been so many versions throughout your life. Your current version of you, it's my favorite so far. You have the unique ability to invent yourself and reinvent yourself and work diligently to become who you want to be. That is remarkable. That takes so much strength, commitment, imagination, willingness to change. Not everyone has this gift. It's impressive. I know that your son Maverick is celebrating his own birthday. And maybe that will compel you to make your own video for him. I'm sure he would enjoy that someday. I love you so much, and I am so thankful for you, and I cannot wait to see all of the things that you do with your life.